Hey guys, um, we've been telling you guys we were going to start a YouTube channel, just giving you guys updates on what's going on and everything with Kylie. But we wanted to start off this first video with kind of talking about how it all started and where we're going. So I'll let Katie here start how we came to know what's going on with Kylie.
Well, following 8th grade with her, she had a concussion in cheer. And from that point on, her health kind of took a little bit of a turn. She'd always been very, very healthy. But after that, she started having more headaches. She started having days where she just didn't feel good. Approximately a year ago, a little over a year ago, she started having really, really bad days where she would feel so bad she wouldn't feel like getting out of bed. She passed out a couple times, and we discovered that her sugars numbers were dropping very, very low with no reason. At that time, we have two cats who decided they want to
be in the video.
They want to be in the video.
Anyway.
So that's where we were at last summer, was checking her sugars, checking her numbers. She had some routine blood work that was done. Following that came back showing that her white blood cell counts and her platelets were both low, as well as her vitamin B12. So they started her on B12 shots, and basically put her on a continuous glucose monitor to check her sugar, and told her to watch, what she was eating and to pay attention to her sugars, to try and keep it up. She continued to feel worse and worse throughout the fall. And then in January, her doctor repeated her labs, and they came back showing her white blood cell count, red blood cell count, and platelets were all significantly low. So at that point in time, they referred us to a hematologist, and we saw them first at the end of February. It was about a month that she was on B12 shots with the hematologist, because they were hoping as well that would be all it was. But following a month of additional B12 injections more frequently, her B12 was back up to normal, but all of her other counts were still very low and continuing to drop. So at that point in time, they did a bone marrow biopsy. It was either end of March, early April.
Well, the bone marrow biopsy, I think, was near the end of March. It was in February when she saw, was it an endocrinologist or somebody who first suggested that it was a bone marrow issue?
Her GI doctor actually is the one who said he felt like the labs indicated that it was a bone marrow failure issue.
Yeah, which, as a 15-year-old girl, all of a sudden hearing, and he said he thought that it could be cancer, and, it kind of freaked her out. So that was the first day you guys went to the church right after to see about people praying over her.
And around that time as well, she was having to miss so much school because she was having so many days where she felt bad, that in February we actually ended up pulling her out of school and registering her with an online program. The online program has worked fairly well for her. On days that she feels like she can't do anything, she doesn't have to get on and do schoolwork. She's able to do it at her own pace, and she already is through the first half of her 10th grade year, when technically she should have just finished her 9th grade year. So in regards to school, that's going okay right now. But following the bone marrow biopsy, the beginning of April, towards mid-April, we got the results back. and she was diagnosed with a condition called MDS, which is basically a form of blood cancer. Throughout the rest of April, we received more and more results and more news that was very concerning. She also has a genetic condition called GATA2. Well, MDS alone is very rare in kids. It's primarily a blood cancer that affects adults 60 and over, especially males. On top of that, the GATA2 is what originally caused the cancer. But having MDS with GATA2 is just a lot more difficult to treat than just regular MDS. Fortunately, we were able to find an oncologist. We ended up with an oncologist who is wonderful and who specializes in treating pediatric MDS patients with GATA2. She's the only practitioner in the area who does. And she actually studied under the doctor who is the number one hospital that treats pediatric patients with MDS with GATA2. So she is very, very experienced in Kyleigh's case. So the only treatment for Kyleigh's MDS because of her GATA2 is a bone marrow transplant. The GATA2 means that she is at much higher risk of the MDS turning into AML, acute myeloid leukemia. MDS stands for myeloid dysplastic syndrome. As of right now, she's at a phase kind of between MDS and AML. Her cells have already started to mutate, but they have not turned into full-blown AML yet. So the oncologist team is very anxious to get her in to start high-dose chemo and then to start a bone marrow transplant. As of right now, those are the big things about what's led up to today. We've had highs and lows.
Yeah, we went through a insurance scare where they called me on one Thursday afternoon and saying, "Hey, your insurance is not going to cover the bone marrow transplant at Children's Hospital of Georgia or Atlanta. You were going to have to go to Tennessee, which is St. Jude's, which we had already contacted St. Jude's, and they only take cases if they are running a trial on what you have. So they were not running a trial on MDS cases, so they turned us away. And then the only other option was going to be to send us to Boston, which with Zachary, an 11-year-old autistic boy who is transitioning from elementary school to middle school, that would have been even harder on him because he wouldn't have been able to see us at all over the summer because we would have been in different states.
And Boston wasn't the only option. It's just it was the best option.
It was the best option.
Outside of Atlanta.
Because they did suggest Alabama, but Alabama wasn't even in the top. It wasn't even an option for us because we want the best for our daughter. But like they say, God showed up there because that was Thursday afternoon. I contacted my job on Friday, said we need to get this elevated. And we had the weekend. And when did they call?
They called about 9 o'clock on Monday morning, so it was 3.5 days it took them to get it approved for an exception for an elevation of care for her for Arthur Blank Hospital, which is the Children's Hospital of Atlanta. Everybody, God just worked it out where it was able to go through fast because she has to have this transplant fast, and any delay, can make a difference. One of the lows and highs we had this week was last weekend, Kyleigh's pain got a lot worse. She has experienced shoulder pain since she was in a bus accident when she was in 5th grade. And from then on, her left shoulder has hurt. So she was put in the hospital on Friday night because the pain was so severe, and they believed it was nerve pain. They did discharge her on Sunday because they just couldn't find anything that was helping with the pain, and she really wanted to be able to come home to spend the next 5 days at home before she would be admitted for her transplant, for the extended stay.
She really wanted to go to church, so she begged to get discharged so she could make it to the 11 o'clock service. You guys were left the church at 10 a.m. Sunday, and she
Left
got
the
there,
hospital
left the
at-
hospital at 10 a.m. and made it to the church 10 minutes before service, so she was able to attend service with her friends.
So Monday morning, though, I got a call from her oncologist, and they said they needed to do another bone marrow biopsy because one of the big symptoms of AML is acute bone pain. And while everyone on her team felt like it was probably nerve pain, the tiny chance that it was AML, they had to make sure, because if it had turned into AML, then the treatment that we currently have scheduled for her would not work. And she either would reject the transplant or it wouldn't treat the cancer. It would just relapse. So, that was not an option. So we went and took her for the bone marrow biopsy on Tuesday. Going back just a day, on Monday as well, the plan had been to shave her head in preparation for her being admitted tomorrow. And she decided she still wanted to go through with that. Because she's still gonna, whether it turned into AML or not, she would still require chemo, high dose chemo. So we did that Monday night. And
we went to church.
Yeah, and then we went to church for prayer meeting, and our church, Westridge, has been just amazing with us and Kyleigh. They have just surrounded us with prayer, with support.
She got surrounded with lots of people Monday night, and they just passed the mic around, and I think that's the longest I've ever seen them pray over somebody. We were up there for like 15 minutes for them just praying over her, which really meant a lot to us because she was in an accident right after we got married and ended up in a coma, and we had people praying all over the world. And the doctor's family came to me and said that keep doing what you're doing, because we never did figure it out, and they never did figure out what was wrong with her exactly, what the infection was. So prayer saved her life, and I fully believe that prayer is going to save Kylie's life as well. But
so
anyway,
we had the bone marrow biopsy done on Tuesday, and we knew we wouldn't have the full results before tomorrow, but they were able to get preliminary results and we found out on Wednesday, yesterday, that she does not have AML. So thank God that we are going to be able to continue with her admit tomorrow, which, we'll be able to start her treatment. Well, it feels like this has been going on a while. All of it has just been testing, verifying her diagnosis, and finding out all the details about her diagnosis. So tomorrow is both a scary day and a good day, because at least we will be starting the treatment to get her better. That we'll be, walking and starting down that road for her. That's going to be about a year-long road. But we're just so grateful that we finally reached this point, instead of just sitting around and waiting to find out, more and more news. That at least now that there's going to be some action in place to help her feel better.
So we central line and start chemo tomorrow, and we got about 8-9 days before the actual transplant. I said they tried to figure out once, they were thinking that the GOT2 can be genetic, and Katie's mom had leukemia 23 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So Katie got tested because that's where they thought it came from, and well, she is negative for that. So no, I'm in the midst of being tested for that, just waiting on results to see if I have the GATA2 gene. So there's a chance it's neither one of us had it and she just developed it, but there's also a chance that I may have it.
There's about a 50-50 chance as to whether it occurs on its own or whether it's inherited.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're still working through that and seeing, making sure that not only is Neil checking to see, because that will could make an impact on him as to whether he develops cancer or not, that he'd be at a much higher risk if he has the GATA2. And that will also let us know whether we need to have our boys tested as well. Because Kyleigh's 15. She has 3 brothers. Will is 25. Alexander is 17. And then our youngest, Zachary, is 11. So we needed to know, we need to find out so that we can figure out if we need to get the boys tested as well. Because it can make such a difference if they have that, genetic mutation, because doctors will know how serious to take their symptoms in the future, because they'll understand if they have the GATA2 that they are at much higher risk for it being more than just a simple answer, it being cancer or something else serious. Going back to Kyleigh, she's holding it together good. She has really rough days, but at the same time she has really days where she doesn't feel good, and then days where she's just emotionally broken, as anyone would be going through this. She has held firm to her faith, to her friends, to her family. She is really just an inspiration as to how she's handling it all.
Yeah. She told me today that she's not worried about tomorrow. She's ready to get it started. We've had the tough conversation with her that on the off chance this doesn't work, goes south, she doesn't survive. She's like, yeah, if that happens, I have to go be with Jesus. If I survive, I get to praise Jesus, so I'm happy either way. I mean, that's just how she is. I mean, that's how she looks at things, and if it's a negative thing, there's still positives in it. So, and we gotta stick strong to our faith, where if something like that does happen, we know where she's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we don't want that to happen. We want her here, but so, I mean, and the chances of that happening, as we did talk to the doctor, was like 2% or
less than 2%.
Less than 2%.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, the outcome of this is looking like it's going to be really good. There's like a 75% chance success rate or something, 25%, 20% chance of relapse. I can't remember exactly what she said.
The exact numbers.
Yeah, it's somewhere around there. But I mean, we've had so much amazing support through this from our, like she said, from our church, your women's group, my men's group. It's just so much. So my men's group started a GoFundMe because they know the financial burden that is going to be on us, which I will link that in the description of this video. I mean, her women's group has done a bunch of care packages together for us. I mean, our church, the preschool area, gave Kyleigh a big gift basket, had the little kids drawing pictures for her and everything. I mean, there's just been support all around. The band of the high school, which she's not even part of anymore, still wanted her to be part of it and made shirts for the whole band and selling them. I mean, it's just the amount, like I said, the amount of support from the church, the school, the community has been amazing. And we can't thank everybody enough for what you guys have meant for us and what you've done for us.
So we will continue to update y'all.
I'm gonna try to update this. I say daily, but sometimes there may be too much going on in a day where I don't get to one. I just want to. So Katie won't always be part of it, but I run the channel, so I probably will be all of them. She'll be in them as much as she can. But we just want to keep you guys as updated as possible. There's so many people who can ask what's going on and update. We just figured, I figured this would be the best way that we can update everybody at once.
We'll also,
You have a Caring Bridge page?
yeah, we'll also put the Caring Bridge page in the description so that everyone, if you want to follow along with that, you can too. It should have a lot more detailed information than the YouTube videos, just because other than this video, hopefully the next ones won't be so long. But we do definitely want to include y'all in our lives and in Kyleigh's journey as she goes through this battle. So as of right now, we go to get her central line placed at 9:30 tomorrow morning.
Yep,
and she'll be admitted directly afterward. And like Neil said, she'll have high dose chemo for the next 9 days, and then she will get her bone marrow transplant. That was another huge praise. Is no family matched, but when they went to the National Bone Marrow Registry, there were hundreds of matches. And so her oncologist was actually able to send out a request to 10 different people, several over in Europe and in Germany. The donor that is going to be Kyleigh's donor is actually a 27-year-old male. We won't be able to get his information or give him ours until a year after transplant, which then we can give consent for our information to be shared with him. And he can do the same. It's just to protect, I think, everybody involved as they're going through it. They don't want the donor to have, the burden of, okay, well, if this doesn't work, is it their fault? Or, they just don't want those questions to pop up in anybody's mind. They want everybody to be able to focus on themselves during this year. And then after that, be able to, thank the person who could potentially save her life, or, thank the person who at least tried to.
Mm-hmm.
As of right now, we're planning on spending about half a week with Kyleigh and swap off. We just need to spend that time with our other boys as well, and also have some, time away from the hospital, just period. At some point, my mom will probably also relieve us some so that Neil and I can still work on our marriage and stay strong together, because we're definitely committed to keeping our family together. And we know that this is a big marriage killer. So for any of you out there praying, I would ask you to include that in your prayers as well. It's just for our family to stay strong together, for Neil and I's marriage to stay strong, for Kyleigh to stay strong and realize that this is for her to get better, that there's going to be some really bad and really tough days in there. But the goal is a year from now that she'll be completely back to normal. She won't have cancer, praying she won't have the pain in her shoulder like it is currently. Her last MRI on her shoulder did show the cancer in her shoulder. So there is some chance that the bone marrow transplant can help with that. There's also a chance that it won't help at all. They are also planning on starting physical therapy on her shoulder when she gets admitted as well. So the goal is a year from now that she will be completely back to her normal life. And so that's what we're praying for.
Yeah.
We're also just praying for her brothers, because this is a tough time for all of them as well. It's hard to see their sister going through this. They just, they can't fully grasp, not all of them, can fully grasp what's going on. And, not just the gravity of it, but also the fact that there is so much hope involved. And there's so much positivity. Like the chances of this working out well are enormous. And I think it's hard for them to wrap their minds around that this is almost, this is not definitely, but almost guaranteed to save her.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that even though they're afraid of her dying, that's just a very, very slim chance. So I just really, I think my prayer is just for their hearts to feel like, you know, to understand that God has Kyleigh, and not for them to have that fear of her passing away. You know, I think those are our big prayers right now.
Yeah, so we just ask all of you to continue to pray for us as this is a long road, long journey. Like I said, the GoFundMe will be there if you want to help out financially. Don't feel like you have to. I mean, because God will provide for us no matter what. So, I mean,
Caring Bridge page
the
will
Caring
be there.
Bridge page will be there. And it's just like, we want to make sure that we're pointing to God through all this, because He is going to work a miracle. I fully believe it. He's already shown us so much through this already that there's no doubts that His hand is in all this. So we want to thank you guys for watching, for, like I said, for your prayers, your support, and just, if you don't know God, if you don't need Jesus, you need to get there and accept Him into your heart. And because times like this, you just can't do it alone. So thank you guys again, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks. Bye.